This is Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 4th meeting of the LaPorte County Commission. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good morning, everyone. So great to see such a big crowd today. I would like to welcome you and call the meeting of the LaPorte County Commissioners to order. Today is Wednesday, May 4th, and we are live here, and we also are available via Zoom. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome all my union brothers.
And sisters. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
I am present. And point of order, could you tell me from your records, was I also present in this seat for the meeting in April?
Which meeting in April, Commissioner?
Pardon me?
Which meeting in April?
Well, there was only two, so it'd be one of them.
I'm sorry, you asked me if you were here for the commission meeting in April.
In April.
Both meetings?
Yes. February?
I'm sorry, February? I don't know what you're asking.
Diane?
I apologize.
And January? And December? And November? And October? Tales of my demise are greatly exaggerated. I still live here. I still come to meetings here, for those who doubted that. Just wanted to make it a point of order. Thank you.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Thank you, Chief Executive thing.
Commissioner.
I'm present. I'm present.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Haney.
Present.
Commissioner Mateus.
Present.
All three present.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to consider the agenda. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Next, we have consider approval of the April 20th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of our April 20th meeting as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion is carried. Next, we have consideration of claims. We have payroll and county operating expenses.
Commissioners, we have, as you said, we have payroll for the period ending 4/22/22 in the amount of $1,275,471.27, and operating expense claims in the amount of $1,675,007.29.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second, and parenthetically, I'm very pleased to see on there that the dispersed $10,000 disbursements for our volunteer fire departments are included on that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion is carried. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. There's a lot of members of the public here present, and we also have people on Zoom. So please feel free to approach the podium, introduce yourself and your address if you are a LaPorte County resident. And please remember that we're trying to keep our meetings focused on business, so please be respectful. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Tao Nguyen, and together with my colleague Dan Corey, we are with the law firm of Plews, Shadley, Rachel, and Braun. We represent Dr. Steve Nightingale in the matter of Mr. Versaw's MS4 permit. We thank you, President Mateus, Commissioner Brzezinski, and Commissioner Haney for issuing the stop order against that MS4 permit. Mr. or Dr. Nightingale has assembled a number of signatures. So he and 23 of his neighbors have signed a petition thanking you for issuing that stop order. And with your permission, I'd like to read it. Dear President Mateus, thank you for defending our community by issuing the order to stop work on what you have found to be an illegal sand mining operation conducted by Mr. Daniel Versaw on the agriculturally zoned land between my and the recently deceased Miss Nina Fireboss farms on 1000 North, 998 East and 66 East, respectively. We urge you and your fellow commissioners to continue to support us as we seek to remediate the environmental, economic, and public health damages the sand mining has caused, and to assure that any similar illegal activity never happens again in our county. I have copies for all three of you. May I approach?
Please. Thank you. Thanks so much.
President Mateus, we also have reason to believe that additional neighbors are going to be signing that petition, and we will collect all of those signatures and forward them to the board. Thank you so much for your work in this area. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time?
Nice to see everybody. It's been a long time.
Good morning.
Phyllis Marks, 118 Sagamore Parkway, LaPorte, Indiana. And this is just a little help me understand things about the county home. When the county home was sold, they were saying that they didn't have any bids. They didn't have anybody that was interested. I remember many times I asked to explore the county home, and the remarks that I got from Rich Morzinski, I don't have a key to the maintenance, and the maintenance guy, I don't know, and then the maintenance guy said, I can't see it because I walk with a cane and I may fall in a hole that was in the floor. Real. I had a group of people that was interested in it. And then after it was sold, I talked to Rich, my favorite guy up here, and it sold for $50,000 and 5 acres that was behind the home. And he said that he didn't know anything about the county home being sold. How many up here knew the county home was going to be sold? You did?
I knew they had motioned at the time. At the time I was in the audience with you. I remember your trials and tribulations quite well. I was sitting out in the audience listening when you were denied access to the county home and some of the other bidders. I remember that quite vividly because I live out there by there. It was something that's close to my heart. The county home is something that's right by my house, and so sorry, go ahead.
Well, and one of our commissioners said that I assaulted the maintenance guy. I don't remember exactly what I said to him, that I needed to apologize to him. I don't remember exactly what I said. But as I was told by Mr. Morzinski, the county home was sold by Shaw Friedman and Jody Winsky. Is that correct?
So, Mrs. Marks, this isn't a question answered, so feel free to make any comments you wish to make. But we're not going to do back and forth, if you don't mind, please.
I don't understand you.
We're not going to have back and forth.
Okay,
it's your time
that's
at the
fine.
podium to
All right.
say what you wish
it's
to say.
just the way it was sold, and it wasn't advertised properly. Jody Winsky said that it was sold properly. No sign out there, wrong address, had the fairgrounds address. And so I remember this young man that spoke after it was sold. And Shaw Friedman just shot him down because he had some questions concerning about the way it was sold. Of course, it's out of our hands now. I realize that. But you know what? I've lived in LaPorte County all my life. I'm from south of South Wanata, and I'm 91 years old. It isn't that I'm concerned about the county home. And just a couple more things. What happened to the iron fence that was around the county home? When we were restoring the barn, it was against the hog barn, and all of a sudden it's gone. Nobody knows where it is. Beautiful wrought iron fence, gone. Nobody knows, no of the county officials know where it is. And then one more comment. The county spent $1.2 million on a county home 8 or 10 years ago. A new windows, I think a new roof, a new boiler system, and nobody was going to bid on it. In my opinion, I think it was sold wrong. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time?
Hello,
Good morning.
Tim Short, lifelong resident, LaPorte County, Wills Township. Talking to you not as a member of the Sheriff's Department or courthouse security, but as the past commandant for Michiana Marines Marine Corps League Detachment 1348, and as the Department of Indiana co-coordinator for Toys for Tots. If you guys notice every year when you come in the courthouse or going in any of the buildings, from just after Veterans Day up through Christmas, you'll see our collection boxes. I had 4 boxes at both courthouses and a box at the Sheriff's Department for toys this year for Toys for Tots. We had about 160 collection boxes out in local businesses. So this year, for Toys for Tots, just locally in LaPorte County, we managed to collect 13,600 toys, and we passed those out to about 3,900 kids this year at Christmas time. Nationally, we're able to collect a little over 19 million toys and pass them out to 7.3 million kids. So that's 7.3 million kids that got Christmas this year. If you remember, like back in late November, there were some pretty devastating tornadoes that passed through Kentucky, hundreds of homes destroyed, families displaced. We donated about $45,000 worth of toys to those kids so they would have a Christmas. So as part of Toys for Tots, every business or community that participates, we always give them a certificate of appreciation. And I have that here for the county government this year. If I could approach it and give it to you.
Thank you so much. We will proudly display this in the commission office. Thank you.
One final thing, if you don't mind. Part of the Marine Corps League, we have I guess it's a social club called Devil Dogs, or Military Order of the Devil Dogs. At our meetings, we kind of, in a jokingly manner, find each other $1, $2, $5, whatever it is. Well, at the end of each year, we donate that money to a local children's hospital wherever our national convention is at. In 2019, we donated a check for $50,000 to the Billings Children's Infusion Center. In 20, we were able to donate about $40,000 to St. Jude's Hospital. Last year, our national convention was in Springfield, Illinois, and we donated a check for $70,000 to the St. John's Children's NICU. So we're still, besides Toys for Tots, we're still trying to help out the kids. So all of us Marines are still, we may not be active duty, but we're still serving.
That's a really moving story, and I appreciate you making sure that everyone understands the hard work that you and your brothers and sisters do.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for all you do, Tim. I know Tim Vaughn and Ronnie Stibb, all you guys work together with it, and these guys, I mean, this is like, they are so focused on this, and it's not just at Christmas, they're doing this all year round. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing that. That's really important. That's what LaPorte County is all about. Good people taking care of children and families. That's great. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time?
Good morning, Jim Kimmel, 1015 South Westwood, LaPorte. Just got a couple comments about the election yesterday. I think for the most part it went pretty well. I did have one friend of mine call, say they were unable to vote out at Center Township. I guess there was an electronic problem, and she said she had to get to work, and they told her, well, I guess you don't get to vote. That's not acceptable. They should have had a provisional vote for her or something. But the thing that upsets me most is the way the return was issued last night. It has been a long-standing practice that as the results come in, they're posted. I'm sure that Mr. Maddox to my right behind me could attest to the fact that the media makes this, they look forward to that. It's a good night for them to get the information out to the public. Elected officials who are running or the candidates that are running have gatherings with friends and their committees and that stuff. But for the public and that have to wait almost 4 hours to get results, because what I read this morning, they wanted to be transparent and make sure they had everything correct before they released the results. I don't find that acceptable either. If it's transparent, then why wasn't the media told about this in advance? They had no idea. So therefore, they're sitting around with befuddled looks on their face last night with the ALCO transmission, listening to Stan a little bit last night. They had no answers to what was going on, and I thought it was very poorly presented. Just as a comparison, I know it's not on the same scale, but the acts that were pulled last night by the election board of, in my opinion, hiding the results for 4 hours, it'd be similar to the National Football League taking the Super Bowl and putting it in some unknown area and then waiting until the game is over with and electing and then announcing the score. I know it's a little bit one-sided there, but still, it's the same comparison. Advertisers were probably sitting waiting from the radio stations and ALCO. So I hope that someone looks into this and is corrected. We can go back to the way it was before. And if they made an error last year, then just make sure you don't make it again. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimmel. I know this normally isn't a question and answer period, but I too was a bit flummoxed last night as to what was going on, and I inquired. And preliminary information that I received was that it was a 2-to-1 vote on the election board. The two attorneys on the election board voted to hold the results until everything was collected and fully tabulated. The clerk voted against that. She wanted to release them as they came in, as they became available, as was traditional. So I know there's going to be some more looking into that, but I think it caught everybody flat-footed, including the clerk, that the 2 of the 3 election board members were going to go the way they did last night. So I understand your concerns, and doesn't really make sense why they decided to go that way. But I understand that because of some of the issues that happened last year, they didn't want to see those repeat this year. But it's everything. Otherwise went off without a hitch last night. I don't know why the 2 attorneys decided to go that way, but they did. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time? For department heads or public comment? Okay. Please unmute her. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to, it's been a rough week. I just wanted to pop in and say that I agree. Mr. Kimmel and I don't often agree, but on this we do. I really wish that the results had been released as they in the past. I know that all of the candidates worked so hard, out campaigning, meeting everybody, earning those votes, and I know that at the end of the day on election, all gather with their teams, with their friends, with their party. They do poster get the result. So I'm big on transparency, and I understand the mistake, but that could have been corrected with official precinct. So I apologize, and like Joe said, I wanted early, but the other 2 board members did. I know Darlene Hale, our director, was there with me, and trying to explain to them, oh my goodness, you got to hear about that. So it was a little out of my hands, but I think in the future it won't be.
Thank you so much.
Madam President, if I could also interject, because I think a question has been raised about the 2 election board members. I think we were all a little surprised by what occurred, but at the same time, I texted Nelson Pichardo and asked, okay, what's going on? What was the decision? And apparently the new technology was such that it was delaying it to some extent. Apparently a decision was made as Ms. Stevens indicates by the 2 election board members who I think were chastened by what happened 2 years prior in the primary, that that by parceling results out, there were incomplete results. They had to back that up. They got on Alco last night, fortunately, and at least indicated why they'd made the decision they had. I'm hopeful that this fall there can be some sort of a middle ground reached, so that we go back to the tradition, and I agree, it's a decades-old tradition of getting release results out. But I think my understanding is that both Republican Chuck Watterson and Democrat Nelson Pichardo made a decision that rather than get incomplete results out, that they would go ahead, have the full tally run, and then get the results out. But I understand everyone's frustration, but I think they made the decision in good faith. Hopefully this can be modified this fall so that folks are not waiting an extended period of time. I think the new iPads will be fully in place. Everybody's used to the technology. I would also indicate, too, Ms. Stevens wasn't there 2 years ago during the primary when both Mr. Pichardo and Mr. Watterson had to deal with the issues of issuing what were incomplete results that had to be backed up. And you recall there were some numbers missing. And so I think they were both very much affected by what happened 2 years ago. Felt that it was best simply to do it right, get it complete. They issued a statement with the results, but I think if there was a mistake made, it was perhaps not alerting folks well in advance of election night that was the plan. And I've suggested to Nelson, and I would suggest to Chuck, that they give plenty of advance notice next time as to what the procedure will be on announcing results so that there's no mystery or anything else. But I wanted folks who are watching to understand a little bit more of the thinking of the two attorneys who were involved, who made a bipartisan decision as they did last night.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time? Darlene, do we have anyone else on Zoom? All right. Public comment is closed. Let's move on to department head reports. Are there any department heads who wish to speak at this time?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Wanted to give you a very brief status on the recalculation of the property tax bills. Auditor Tim Stavos, obviously. We did submit the CNAVs, the certified net assessed values, through the state of Indiana's gateway system on Monday, which gets the clock rolling for everything else to fall into place. The budget order, the tax abstract, and the big bottleneck, if you will, which is the advertising of the tax rate chart in the newspaper 3 times 2 weeks apart. So we still anticipate hopefully getting the bills out by the end of the month. We are encouraging people, the treasurer, myself, the assessor, financial function of LaPorte County, as we've said before, to pay your bills. The typical bill will have a difference of less than 5%. So please pay your property tax bills. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you for the update.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other department heads who wish to speak at this time?
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Callahan, Assistant Director, LaPorte County Juvenile Services Center. I just wanted to come up and highlight that tomorrow, May 5th, is Thank You Youth Worker Day, National Thank You Youth Worker Day, and highlight some of the things that we have out at the center. We have, secure detention, but that is actually a very small part of what we do out there. We also have educational day reporting that the school systems send us kids for. It's like the kids' last chance before they are expelled from school. They still earn their credits through the online system that we have that the school systems accept. We have a day and evening reporting program where kids who need a little bit more supervision, but not as much supervision as secure detention, can be referred to by probation and DCS. We house kids from the Department of Child Services that come to us. They have nowhere else to go, or they're in transition between placements. I'd also like to highlight that with the staffing shortages that I know you all know about, our people have been jumping in and working extra shifts, helping out, working out in the kitchen to help out with the shortage that we have there. They've been doing a lot of work, and I think they deserve the recognition, and I wanted to come here today publicly and say thank you to them, and I would invite you all to come out tomorrow and extend a thank you or send an email or something to make them all feel better. And I know that the sheriff is going to come up before you about soon here about Correctional Workers Week, and myself and Ms. Stallworth are would support anything the sheriff would say as far as Correctional Workers Week, because everybody in corrections deserves some kind of thank you, because, you know, we're all working pretty hard nowadays, so.
Thank you for sharing that, and please express our appreciation to your team. You know, working with young people in the best of circumstances is tough. Said as a former teacher, so but
Yes, ma'am.
your kids have a different set of challenges and,
Yes.
and unique set of challenges, and so thank you for
You're-
your respectful help and care for them.
You're welcome, and thank you. And I just wanted to also say that we're seeing different kids now than we have in the past. These kids have more mental issues than we have seen in the past, so they're a lot harder to deal with than they have been in the past. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.
Are there any other department heads who wish to speak at this time?
Good morning,
Good morning.
Madam President, members of the commission. Just briefly here, the tremendous amount of hard work that goes into the LaPorte County Works program and our business retention expansion initiatives, quite frankly, all culminate into what we are seeing as a rock solid advanced manufacturing and economic current condition. The reason I give you that little bit of background, time sensitive, was that I mentioned Tuesday, May 10th, between 2 and 6 p.m., the Michigan City Economic Development Corporation, Michigan City Chamber of Commerce, the Northwest Indiana Workforce Board, and Work One are hosting what I will call a mega hiring event. Represented will be nearly 100 employers in the greater LaPorte County area, and a genuine opportunity for any of those that may be seeking to move up professionally or new employment to come ready and come prepared for what would almost be a job interview. So it's an exciting time. We hear a lot about the need to continue to attract workforce to LaPorte County. Given the time sensitivity of this, I wanted to make sure we're all accentuating that and highlighting Tuesday, May 10th, between 2 and 6 p.m. at the Blue Chip Casino, and we will, I believe we've already placed this on the county website, but we will continue to share aggressively across all the media channels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's an exciting opportunity. Any other department heads who wish to speak at this time?
Good morning, Rob Savy with the EMA. I'd just like to report on the siren out at Westville. The tornado siren got moved and it's down at the park now with cooperation between the county and Westville. They got a pole donated. We got the siren moved. However, last night I got a phone call about 6, 7 o'clock that the siren was activated. I couldn't get it to reset, so I had to disable it. So it'd been sitting for 2-3 years. It hadn't been used. There hadn't been power to it, so I'm not sure exactly what happened to it. So it might have some kind of a electronic issue or something. We'll have to get somebody to look at it. We did get another siren fix that hasn't been working at the corner of 4 and 104, so that is now working. Hopefully this week we're going to get some more reports, make sure all the others are working, because we do our siren test the first of the month on Saturday morning. So if anybody out in the public, there's a siren in your area and you don't hear it, please let us know so we can get it looked at. Also, we had the opportunity to go to Lake Hills Elementary School earlier in April to do a program on emergency management, and it's kind of funny that remember the show Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? So they were pretty informed actually, and it was quite informative to get some questions and stuff that about emergency management and preparedness, and their teachers over there are doing a really good job. They're well informed, and I was really proud of them. Also, we've got there's some other grants that are coming up that hopefully we might be able to apply for to help with our siren situation. Because right now our sirens, apparently the last time they were upgraded, we had federal sirens, and American Signature came in, and they bid on to upgrade. Well, they use the old federal, the actual siren head that makes the noise, and the electronics are American Signature, so we have like half and half. So it's kind of hard to work on these because some of the sirens are, the heads are federal, the electronics are American Signal, so it's making it a little difficult to get things done on those. So we're looking at, hopefully, if we could get a grant or something to help maybe replace all that, get them back to either one or the other. Maybe get a bid on that. I've talked to the county attorney. He's kind of led me in the right direction on how to get that going. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Rob. No, I love that you were tutored by some fifth graders. That's a great story.
I know. It's just crazy to go in there and you're not knowing what to expect on, especially on something like emergency management. And I mean, that they've been doing this for a little bit and asking some really good questions that they were really well informed, and the teacher did a really good job. And they had a lot of like signs and posters and stuff up, different types of disasters and how to prepare for them. So it was really good.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other department heads who wish to speak at this time? All right, hearing none, let's go into requests. First, consider permission for travel to the NASW conference in Washington, D.C. Catherine Schmidt. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Good morning.
Today I'm here to ask for permission for two of my investigators to go to Washington, D.C. for the National Association of Social Work Conference. Specifically, they're going to be dealing with elder financial issues and mental health and treatments and services available. So I thought it would be a great training opportunity for two of my folks to go. We have all of the money in our state grant to cover it, so there would be no cost to the county, but wanted your permission.
Thank you.
Excellent. I would move to allow travel to DC for this conference.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to allow travel to the conference in Washington, D.C. by Adult Protective Services staff. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have permission, consider permission for travel to the Fiddler Symposium in Davenport, Iowa. Ms. Bilderback?
Yes, Ella Bilderbeck, LaPorte County Recorder. It's an annual symposium. Last year we had to do it remotely for obvious reasons. The cost, actually, I just got an email yesterday. The only cost to us would be the 2 nights stay at hotel. They cover the meals and even the gas mileage. So
Okay.
Excellent. I would move to approve the travel request to Iowa for Recorder's Office.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to permit travel to the symposium. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion is carried. Thank you.
if I could, as a sidebar, I didn't want to do it separately from the head of the department.
Okay.
And in April, myself and Darlene, we graduated from the National Association of Counties Leadership Academy. And so now we both have a master's certificate in leadership.
Fabulous.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider permission to approach the council for additional appropriations for autopsies. Coroner Swanson, is she online?
I am.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I would like to request permission to approach the council for $70,000 for my autopsy budget fund, as we have just about gone through the whole budget already.
Motion to approve permission to approach council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to allow permission to approach the council for appropriations for additional autopsy funding. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Next on the agenda, consider letter of endorsement for the annual DOC Community Supervision Grant and DOC Residential Work Release Grant. Ms. Brown, Community Corrections.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have completed year grant. I'm trying to remember now. The yearly grant for DOC. We are requesting $604,849, and I'm just requesting your letter of support for the signatures as well as the auditor.
Thank you. Is there a deadline for that,
The
Rochelle?
deadline is Friday.
Okay. All right, I'd consider a motion.
Has the attorney looked this over?
Yes,
Yes, we
we've
contacted
reviewed all
the
these grants, and I'm comfortable with the wording of the grant as it's being submitted.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve supporting the Community Supervision Grant and the DOC Residential Work Release Grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider letter of endorsement for the annual DOC Drug Court Grant and pretrial grant. Steve Irick is presenting this, but he is unavailable today due to a meeting that conflicts. I think all of us have read the paperwork. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second, yeah?
Yes.
Motion and a second to endorse Mr. Irick's application for the DOC Drug Court Grant and pretrial grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, we'd like to consider a proclamation for Correctional Officers and Employees Week with Sheriff Boyd.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're here before you today for your consideration of a proclamation for Correctional Officers and Employees Week, which is May 1st through May 17th. I'm sorry, May 7th. Just to have a couple things I'd like to say before I introduce this group of individuals before you. The first week in May was designated by President Ronald Reagan under Proclamation 5187 as the National Correctional Employees Week. This was enacted on May 5th, 1984, and at the time, President Reagan wrote, "Historically, correctional officers have been viewed as guards, occupying isolated, misunderstood positions in prisons and jails. In recent years, the duties of these officers have been increasingly complex and demanding. They are called upon to fill simultaneously custodial, supervisory, and counseling roles. The professionalism, dedication, and courage exhibited by these officers throughout their performance of these demanding and often conflicting roles deserve our utmost respect. The important work of correctional officers often does not receive the recognition from the public that it deserves. It is appropriate that we honor the many contributions and accomplishments of these men and women who are a vital component in the field of corrections. The importance of our correctional staff cannot be overstated. As President Reagan had indicated in his proclamation, our jail employees are not guards. They are professionals doing a very dangerous and a very difficult job. They are subjected to felonious assaults. In the LaPorte County Jail last year, they suffered through 14 felonious assaults, 7 so far this year. They are subjected to attempts of blackmail and extortion, subjected to communicable diseases, and are locked in with people that the rest of our population are afraid of. They do a job that many in the public say that they could never do, and a job that many readily admit that they're not paid enough for. Our jail takes care of those that cannot, providing for their medical and psychiatric needs and feeding, on average, 400,000 meals annually. I could not be more proud of our jail staff as they do a thankless job and maintain a very positive attitude. We're very pleased that they go about their task and deal with troubled and dangerous people in a non-judgmental manner. One of the most meaningful compliments that was bestowed upon our jail staff came late this winter. One of our previously incarcerated offenders had been transferred to a state mental facility, and he wrote the following letter upon his release. Dear Sheriff Boyd and the jail deputies, I just want to say thank you for getting me the help that I needed when you guys treated me with respect, and you were a big help. I am now out of the state hospital, and I'm at a group home, and I'm doing a great job, and I'm going to group, and I'm staying out of trouble, so I don't have to come back to your temporary holding cells again. So thank you again for all your help. To date, he calls our jail every other week to check in and let us know what his status is and provide us with a thank you for his successes today. He does this because of the positive reinforcement that he gets when he talks to our jail staff that have previously managed him. Thank you for recognizing these unsung heroes that continue to go about their job 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'd like to introduce just a couple members of our staff that are here with us today. Deputy Michelle Allen, Sergeant Aaron Harner, and Sergeant Steve Oliver, who's our Assistant Jail Commander. Sergeant Oliver has a couple of words he'd like to say as well.
I'll be very brief and probably not as well spoken as the sheriff, but thank you.
We're glad you're here.
I thank you for your time. Again, my name's Steve Oliver. I've been and proud to be a member of the Sheriff's Department for the last 22 years. I started 9/11/2000 And I'm extremely proud to be up here and representing our jail officers. You know, the jail officers understand when they take the job that working in a jail is inherently a dangerous place to be, but they do it anyways, every day, willingly, and they're well trained for doing so. But some of the things that is forgotten is the sacrifices they make. We're in when the snow's 12 inches deep. We're in through the pandemic. We're here every single day. Matter of fact, they should be commended on their work during the pandemic because attendance was at an all-time greatness, and we kept the inmate population safe. But they have a determination to go home safe every day. That's a personal goal, and a professional goal to keep our community safe and also to keep the inmate population safe because they're under our care, custody, and control. So I would like to just thank them for everything they do. We have officers that drive, in addition from LaPorte County citizens, they come from other counties to work at our department. And that's a testament to the sheriff and the culture that he has created for this department. We remain fully staffed, and it's very, very difficult to do, but creating such a great place to work. So I thank all those officers for their dedication, and I thank you all for your recognition today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff Boyd, he was as eloquent as you were. Thank you. You did a great job. I, on behalf of the commission and on behalf of the community, I really hope that you can bring the message back that while we may not see you often, we know you're there and we know how difficult your tasks are, keeping us safe and keeping the staff and the other inmates safe as well. It's really important work, and we thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda.
Madam President, I would move to approve this proclamation for Correctional Officers Week.
Do you want to read that into the record?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
We have a motion, and I presume we have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Would you go ahead and read it into the record, please?
Absolutely. From the LaPorte County Board of Commissioners, proclamation to all those present who may come. Greetings. Whereas the correctional facilities across the U.S. are run by highly qualified and experienced individuals with a deep understanding of the challenges within the profession, and whereas correctional officers and employees are resourceful, capable, committed, patient, and persistent professionals in criminal justice and our nation, and whereas correctional officers and employees serve admirably in many different capacities, including jail administrators, wardens, chaplains, nurses, supervisors, social workers, teachers, managers, and directors. And whereas the career of correctional officers and employees is often very challenging and stressful, the dedicated individuals who work in LaPorte County Jail every day perform their duties well and with great pride. And whereas LaPorte County Jail correctional officers and employees are brave, courageous, tenacious individuals who put their lives and health at risk every day to keep the public safe and serve this honorable profession nobly and admirably. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of LaPorte County, do hereby proclaim May 1st to 7th, 2022 as Correctional Officers and Employees Week in the County of LaPorte County, and invite all citizens to duly note this occasion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve this proclamation for the week of May 1st through the 7th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The motion has been approved, and this proclamation will be shared on our website. Next on the agenda, we have consider proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week, which is May 15th through the 21st. Mr. McGuire?
Hi, good morning.
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 Andrew McGuire from LaPorte County EMS, and with me, my Assistant Director, Eric Fenstermaker. So in celebration of this year's National EMS Week, and in an effort to recognize the professional, compassionate, and dedicated men and women of LaPorte County EMS, I'm asking for your consideration of the 2022 EMS Week proclamation. I'd also like to take this opportunity to share a little bit of information that maybe a lot of people don't really know about our service and about our employees. So we do employ 64 employees. Of these 64 employees, 25 are full-time EMTs, 28 are full-time paramedics. We have 5 part-time paramedics and 1 part-time EMT. We also have an in-house billing department with 4 employees and 1 office manager. So on average, I get asked this all the time, what's it take to be an EMT? What's it take to be a paramedic? So on average, EMT courses vary, but on average, an EMT course consists of about 160 hours of classroom time, followed by about 12 to 24 hours of clinical time. And a typical course lasts anywhere between 6 to 7 months. So, and that's your entry level into EMS typically. So our paramedics, which are considered our highest level provider that we have on our ambulances, an average paramedic course consists of 500 hours of classroom instruction, followed by another 300 to 400 hours of clinical time. So as a paramedic student, you're kind of required to, or I should say you are required to do clinical rotation time through almost every department in the hospital, anywhere between lab, ER, OB, ICU, the neonatal ICUs, almost every department you have to do clinical rotation through. Then you have to do additional time on an ambulance with multiple preceptors before you're cleared and before your course is even considered completed. Then you go take the national registry test and hope you pass that. So a typical paramedic course lasts 12 to 18 months before you're considered completed and you can go take the national registry test. So we operate here at LaPorte County on a 24 on, 48 off rotation. We do this with 3 different shifts, A, B, and C shifts. So we run out of 3 bases, soon to be 4. Wonderful groundbreaking this afternoon. LaPorte, Michigan City, Wanata, and soon to be Rolling Prairie. And we cover all of the second largest county in the state of Indiana with 7 ambulances, which at times we're stretched pretty thin. So speaking of that, in 2021, we had 15,834 calls for service. And that's an increase of 1,184 calls over 2020. We're extremely busy EMS service with a wide range of call types. We hear this all the time from people that come from other agencies and work with us, but the range of the call types that we have, 1 minute you could be landing a helicopter for a 5-patient motor vehicle accident with heavy trauma, major trauma. The next you could be responding to somebody that just doesn't feel well. It's all across the board. Our management team consists of field training officers, lieutenants, captains, and our administration. And our management, including our administration, often responds to large incidents off duty to assist our crews night and day. We're kind of on a unofficial on-call basis. And lastly, we're a 5-time winner of the Indiana Paramedic Provider of the Year Award, and we won this award last in 2015. So I'd say we're due, which means I got a little bit of work to do to get us another one here. So, so EMS week this year is May 15th to the 21st. We do have some events planned for our employees during that week and even the week prior, this next coming week. So if you're out and about, please stop by one of our bases, stop by our office, to show your appreciation and your support to our hardworking employees. So thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to read the proclamation for us?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Unless one of you would like to.
I'd be happy to if you.
Would you mind?
Yeah,
thank
sure,
you.
Absolutely. All right. Before us, we have a proclamation to designate the week of May 15th to the 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas members of the LaPorte County Emergency Medical Service team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas emergency medical care dramatically improves the survival rate and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical service providers have traditionally served as the safety net of America's healthcare system, and whereas the LaPorte County Emergency Medical Services team consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others. And whereas the members of the LaPorte County Emergency Medical Service team, whether a career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas LaPorte County residents benefit daily from the knowledge and skills of these highly trained individuals, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of our LaPorte County emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week, and now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of the County of LaPorte, State of Indiana, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th to the 21st, 2022, as Emergency Medical Services Week, and encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would move to adopt this proclamation.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation designating the week of May 15th to the 21st as Emergency Medical Services Week, and thank you for your wonderful leadership and service to this community. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we're moving to old business. Consider the second and final reading on the tax fraud ordinance. I see Mr. Carr is in the audience. Would you like to approach?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So what you have in front of you this morning is the tax fraud ordinance in regards to the county. I'd just like to say that several municipalities throughout Northwest Indiana has passed a tax fraud ordinance. It's come with a lot of support from both sides of the aisle. It's a bipartisan issue. It's an issue that's growing, and it's affecting all of our skilled tradespeople working construction on a daily basis. The problem is real, and we see it, and we can't rely on the state to enforce it because we're not getting any help. This issue isn't being enforced anywhere. So this tax fraud ordinance will serve to protect the county and the tradespeople that work in this county and our local contractors, both union and non-union, who play by the rules and pay their fair share of taxes. So I appreciate you guys taking this up. It's, like I said, it's got a lot of support, and you can see there's several members of the building trades here today to show support for this ordinance. And throughout Northwest Indiana, we have not had anybody vote against this ordinance. So I thank you, Commissioners, for taking this matter up.
Thank you.
I got our attorney, Joe Svetnoff, here.
Please approach.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. My name's Joe Svetnoff. I'm with the law firm of Kopka, Pincus, Nolan, PC, located 9801 Connecticut Drive in Crown Point, Indiana. We represent the Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio Regional Carpenters Council concerning the second reading of this tax fraud ordinance before you this morning. You've already heard a presentation from Mr. Carr on the first reading of this ordinance with the importance of the ordinance uncovering tax fraud itself, the negative impact it has to local and state collection rates, and in protecting working men and women within LaPorte County. We note in early April, your LaPorte County prosecutor, John Lake, filed charges against the contractor for tax fraud under Indiana code. And we eagerly await the outcome of that criminal. This local legislation before you this morning will provide certain county officials with additional tools to not allow this type of fraud to occur within LaPorte County anymore. Please be aware that we realize on the second reading of this ordinance, you will conduct a public hearing. We respectfully request that all participants in the public hearing be required to adhere to the policy to encourage effective and efficient use of public comment. That is all I have at this point, but we certainly appreciate you entertaining this on the second reading.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to open the public comment portion. This is an ordinance on second reading, and we have the opportunity to hear the public on ordinances. So if there are any members of the public, either in the room or on Zoom, who would like to introduce themselves and say a few words, please feel free. Don't all race up here. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Your presence speaks volumes, but if you have any messages.
Well, Madam President, as a member of the United Steelworkers for 37 and a half years, my wife was a member of the United Steelworkers for 27 years. Union people our whole life, always supported the unions. This issue is pretty simple. You either oppose tax fraud or you're okay with it. And if the situation over here on Clear Lake isn't proof enough that we need some sort of enforcement here, and I'm sure you can all, I know John and I've talked about this in the past, about issues of fraud, and it needs to stop. It hurts everybody in the bottom line. And if you want to talk more about it on the golf course again, you know, I've got my number, but seeing no one to come forward, I would make a motion that we pass this reading by title only on second reading.
Thank you. Mr. Haney, some comments?
I do, thank you, Madam President. I see the amended ordinance, the ordinance for the second reading here. It looks like there's been some updates to this to clear up some of the issues that were in the earlier draft that we had. I don't know if this is, do we know, is this identical to the last one, or has it been, some of the verbiage been updated from the one that was in our last packet?
Yeah, no, it was, we had an initial draft, and then I think that is the final draft that you've looked at on first reading.
So this was the one that was
I'll have Mr. Svetoff. I think there were some changes that were made to help clarify issues. I believe it was under F.
Yes, there was a change made to F, but that was presented before first reading.
Yes,
So
that's
this is the
correct.
same exact ordinance that you passed on first reading that now is for your consideration on second reading.
Okay, so in our packet, for our packet for the last meeting, we had a different copy than what's before us here today.
No, you had, in your packet, it should have been this, but I did email you a prior draft when we had some communications previously, but yes.
All right, very good, thank you, yeah. So I am glad then that some of those were cleared up from before. There were some issues with some quotes, some IC code. There's still some issues that I have with it. For example, we look on the last page here on F, for example. Most of this, it appears, is a direct copy paste with some edits made from what the city of LaPorte has. So, for example, under it's F. Here it says, additionally, a contractor found to have violated the conditions of this and requirements of this section 10-47A. That's referencing the city of LaPorte. You would be referencing here. So that would need to be changed. There's also some other curiosities that I have here. So for example, at under one would be B, so that would be B again. So that would be 7B. It talks about having the right to appeal such determination with the commissioners. I would assume perhaps you're talking about the county commissioners there, but it's not clear. But then we go down further, and it says in C, the person who filed the complaint may appeal the decision of the building commissioner to the building commissioner. Whereas, for example, in the city of LaPorte, you appeal the decision of the building commissioner to the Board of Public Works, I believe. I don't have that right here in front of me, but I'm 99% sure the city of LaPorte has. So in this one, you're appealing the decision of the building commissioner to the building commissioner. That seems a little peculiar. So for example, this is, and curious, it's interesting that we talk about what happened at Newport Landing. The city of LaPorte has had this ordinance on the books since January of 2020, I believe. And obviously it did not stop what happened at Newport Landing. It did nothing to help that. That was investigated separately, and I don't believe the city of LaPorte turned up really anything on that on its own. So I am curious as to why we're referencing what happened at Newport Landing when the city of LaPorte has their own virtually identical copy of this ordinance there, and this did nothing to stop that.
Commissioner Haney, I respect your comments.
Mm-hmm.
We have municipalities that pass these ordinances. The municipalities themselves, though, have to have the intestinal fortitude to enforce it, or have to have the wherewithal to enforce it. Sometimes that can't happen within those municipalities for whatever reason. But luckily, you have a strong prosecutor here that was able to enforce it under Indiana code. But we're giving you the local tool now to go ahead and enforce it in LaPorte County itself. So I think Commissioner Morozski, was able to say either you're against tax fraud or you're for tax fraud. I don't think there's a middle ground.
Sure. And in general, you know, I think the intent here is a good one. I don't think anybody wants to see any tax fraud occurring. I know for sure when it comes to workman's comp, workers should be protected.
Well, and employees shouldn't be misclassified either.
And that's actually a great point that you bring up there. So I'm trying to determine in here, when you say employees should be treated as employees, what definition of employees are you referencing?
I'm referencing a W-9 employee versus an independent contractor. And what happens is some employees are being identified as independent contractors, a 1099 employee, instead of actually being identified as a W-9 employee where they'd have to pay all the benefits.
So are you referencing IRS guidelines for that? I'm just curious because it says on here employees should be referenced
This is passed in 14 towns, cities, and counties.
Right. And
we've never had an issue before, and I'm quite stunned today that we have issues now.
Sure. Well, the stunning part to me is like I said, we're bringing this up right after what came up with Newport Landing when the city of LaPorte had passed this and it was ineffective in doing anything to prevent or stop that.
Why wouldn't the county want local tools to be able to enforce these?
That's why I think I would enjoy having some actual tools with something in there to look at. So again, employees should be classified as employees. That's a nice catchphrase. It's a nice soundbite. But how are we defining employees? Should we incorporate in here employees as defined by IRS guidelines, as defined in Webster's dictionary? How are we classifying? These are very specific words that have very specific terms, right? So when we're talking about passing ordinances, laws, regulations, legislation, words mean things, right? What does employee should be classified as employee actually mean? There's nothing in here to tell us. It's just whatever someone happens to decide that day as an employee. How is someone supposed to look at this and enforce it? Or if it goes before a court, how is the court supposed to interpret what our intent is here by saying employees should be treated as employees?
This is an amendment to a larger ordinance. And in the larger ordinance, I think employees are defined and are specifically identified within that ordinance. But this is an amendment to a larger ordinance itself.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
Yes, and maybe I can help Commissioner Haney. There's a long body of case law that defines employee, certainly in the state of Indiana, both in the workers' comp area and other things. What this does is provide the commissioners a civil remedy in addition to the criminal remedy. I think we need to be clear on that. The prosecutor utilized criminal remedies that exist under Indiana law. This provides the commissioners and the building commissioner with a civil remedy. It's been adopted in a dozen different communities. The only change, and I appreciate the catch, by the way, because most of my time had been spent on F, but I would suggest that on your second reading, on C, and because Commissioner Haney is right on that one particular line, in addition, the person who filed the complaint may also appeal the decision of the building commissioner to the county commissioners. So I appreciate the catch on that. We reviewed the bulk of the ordinance, and that would be the only other change I would suggest to the amendment that I would suggest to the ordinance on second and final reading.
Would you also need to update in section 1F, the reference to 1047A? Because I believe 1047A is just a reference to the sister copy of this that the city has.
Most of the other references are to 151.64.
And then in F, they reference 1047A.
That is correct. And I appreciate the catch. And I would suggest that's a friendly amendment to the ordinance on second and final reading.
All right, so we need a motion to amend the ordinance in those two instances. I would entertain a motion. We have a motion.
A motion to amend it?
No, we have a motion. Do you have a second?
Motion just to amend at this point, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, now it's second.
So we have a motion and a second to amend the ordinance as suggested by our attorney. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Now you can make.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. And then now you can make a motion on the
to
underlying.
pass the ordinance as amended.
So are you finished with your comments, Mr. Haney?
I am finished, yes, thank you.
Okay, so before we go on with our motion to pass the ordinance, I'd like to make a few comments. So I've been stewing about this since our last meeting, because I was really pretty astounded that my colleague to the left had questions about the ordinance and appears to be leaning towards not supporting it. Because the ordinance bans the practice of large companies making extra money by paying people, in the vernacular, under the table. This is hard to fathom, and so I guess I want to just clarify that fraud is fraud. Fraud is fraud. This isn't about paying your babysitter cash on Saturday night, or paying the neighbor who's a plumber to come over and fix your pipe and you give them $100 or $50 to help you out. This is calculated and it's big money. We can't turn a blind eye to corporate greed and unscrupulous companies who refuse to follow the law, while the rest of us, law-abiding citizens, hard workers, including union tradesmen and women, who play by the rules. And the rules are the rules of the United States of America. All of us have to pay taxes. We pay our taxes to support community services, and we heard a lot about those services earlier this evening. Law enforcement, fire departments, sheriffs, schools, road crews. We pay our taxes and we hope to earn a good wage for our family. So from my lens as a tax-paying citizen myself, and as a county commissioner who's proud to serve our community, we're always trying to find more funds to pay good people for those services. By avoiding the payment of taxes, we are increasing the tax burden on those of us who pay, the law-abiding citizens who are already shouldering their fair share. And this hurts working families, and it's not okay. During the last commission meeting, we heard our esteemed Senator Bahacek explain that, in his view, there are some shady things happening here, and he used the word shady, here locally and statewide. He talked about brokers bringing in busloads of workers to work on projects, getting paid, and then paying cash to his workers. This is corruption and tax fraud, and it's not okay. Tax dollars are lost, and it increases the burden on the rest of us. This is unfair, and it's not okay under any circumstance. I'm proud to support the working men and women of our county, union and non-union, and our region. You do important work for our county. You are well-trained and highly skilled. You build hospitals and clinics, homes and schools and libraries, roads and bridges. You learned a trade taught to you from the men and women who came before you, and now you play an important role in our economy and in our community. I was raised in a union family, and as a teacher, I belonged to a union. When my father had come to this country and he wanted to marry my mother, he almost died working his first union job on a road crew laying asphalt in Numa, Arizona. He worked long days to earn enough money in that 125-degree heat to bring my mother stateside from Ireland. Those two immigrant kids raised 6 children, and while we were very poor, we didn't know it because we were rich in what really mattered: family, faith, hard work, and a goal of getting everyone educated. How did my father survive as a newcomer to this country who knew no one and had no connections? Because the unions fought for him and they protected him so he in turn could work hard and support our family. If the paint factory in Cleveland that paid my dad an honest wage for a hard day's work would have chosen to bring in unskilled workers on the down low to save a buck while fleecing the U.S. taxpayer, I likely wouldn't be here today talking to you. Frankly, I don't understand how anyone could be against an ordinance banning the practice of having sham workers not pay their fair share of taxes, so in effect, taking food off other people's tables or making it difficult for people to pay their rent, pay their mortgage, while corrupt companies get richer. In the last commission meeting, we heard some jibber-jabber about government undermining Uber drivers and DoorDash workers, and we heard some drivel about despising 1099 workers, and I couldn't make sense of it. And I even listened to the recording so I could try to understand the point. The people of LaPorte County, our culture in the union is we don't cheat. We pay our taxes. We want the best for our children. We value our lakes and our farms, our schools and our high school sports. We aren't focused on the glory days of the past. We're focused on now. We are about the little girl I observed at the LaPorte County Fair, who left a real indelible mark on me. She was inconsolable. She said goodbye to her prize-winning cow who was heading to be someone's dinner. We are about the neighbors, one in my neighborhood who called the other evening to see if we had an inhaler for her child who was having an asthma attack. That's what we're about in LaPorte County. We are good people and we pay our taxes. We're about doing what's right, regardless of your political views. As you said, this is a bipartisan issue. Let's do the right thing here. So I had to get that off my chest. Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor, Mr. Brzezinski, correct?
Yes, you do.
Yes. Do we have a second? I will second it.
No. Stopping fraud and mistreatment of workers, I believe, is crucial. But passing feel-good laws that we see have no impact on stopping this corrupt behavior, while at the same time adding more additional red tape and bureaucracy to legitimate business owners in LaPorte County, I don't think is the right way to go. I would continue to encourage the state, just like I did when Senator Bohacek was here, and also encourage Representative Pressel as well to work at the state level to continue to increase some enforcement for the Indiana Department of Workforce, as well as the other entities down there. It simply does not make sense to pass feel-good laws that aren't going to actually have any effect on what we're trying to stop. I think it's just passing the buck down the road, and I think we really should focus on encouraging our state legislators to do what they can to continue. Because if some of these companies aren't dissuaded by felonies and things like that, a simple $2,500 fine, I don't think is going to have any additional weight on that, especially not when we consider the added cost and burden to the legitimate small business owners and minority business owners here in LaPorte County. So no.
So I will second the ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
We have 2 ayes. The ayes have it. The ordinance has been approved. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. If you need to leave, we'll allow you that time. Next on the agenda, we have considered reinstatement of the coronavirus paid sick leave policy through December 31st, 2022. Good morning.
Good morning, Monique Thomas, Interim HR Director. We would like to reinstate the COVID pay for employees from now until December 31st, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve, and I think this is a fairness factor. We still have county employees that are having to stay home from work because of the coronavirus, so we want to be fair to everyone and equitable. So this will be expanded to include anyone from, I believe our last policy ended March 31st. So this
Effective April 1, 2020.
Okay, so this would be effective April 1 through the end of December. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda under new business, consider renewal of county's property and liability insurance policies. Mr. Jones and Ms. Green.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners.
Morning.
John
Mr.
Jones, Michiana Insurance Services. I'm here with Account Manager, Miss Stacy Green, and our Principal, John Klingenmeyer, as well as Brenda Schaaf from Gallagher Bassett, your contracted third-party administrators, who will be joining us by Zoom. I did email a packet to the Commissioners, but I would also like to approach with a hard copy, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought, with your permission, Madam President, we might start with Gallagher Bassett's presentation. If you open your folder, the contract is in there that needs to be signed. It goes back to Gallagher Bassett, and then they sign that contract and then return that to us. But so that we might find out if we've got any technical difficulties, I thought I'd allow her to go first. Brenda should be on Zoom with us.
I am here.
Good morning.
Good morning to you all. You will see in front of you the estimated claim counts
are a little lower this year than they were the past couple of years. The claim cost for the county this year would be $20,077 compared to a total cost of $37,449 in 2021 and $39,812 in 2019.
Madam President, members.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Freeman?
Go ahead. No, I want her to go ahead and complete, then I've got some comment on the Gallagher Bassett.
Yep, go ahead. I'm finished.
No, just indicating, and again, we're pleased to see the quote actually go down.
Yeah.
We do try to be selective in which claims are referred. Mr. Jones and I are talking all the time about claims that have traction and that get referred, but I'm pleased to see the quote go down. Gallagher Bassett does an exceptional job on our claims investigations and then recommendations to the commission on settlements on some or contests on others, and so we're certainly recommending renewal of the Gallagher Bassett contract.
Appreciate that.
Their contract, Madam President, represents, and it's as Shaw said, it's a welcome contract this year. It's 38% down from last year, as I calculated. So it had been running up and down, but it's always been fair. But this is a good year for that contract.
Okay. So shall we go contract by contract or just the bulk?
Hers is really separate from mine.
Okay.
They act on their own. I bring them to the table, but that's a contract directly between the county and Gallagher Bassett. Motion to approve the contract with Gallagher Bassett.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Gallagher Bassett based on the presentation, and of course the reduced numbers are certainly helpful. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
The ayes have it, motion is carried. So next, Mr. Jones.
And then next, we had a 5.28% overall increase on the rest of the insurance package for the 22-23 policy period. Driving some of that, I explained in my cover letter, and then on the third page of that packet, you'll see the spreadsheet of the actual line items of business for insurance for your property and casualty. Auto physical damage was increased due to some unfortunate high claims that we've been trending that we hope to bring down. But we've been, and I've indicated in there, the 1920 and 2021 experience years, we were at 113% and 207% consecutively. So we've capped that as an increase this year, or would have been much higher. And there'll probably be an increase next year to level this out, and then hopefully start to come down in that area the following year. But we've had some unfortunate accidents. I did list a little screenshot for you on that cover letter of those claims that we experienced over $10,000. And there are others on the losses, but just as a little sample of what was driving some of that. Property has been, our property claims have been pretty much excellent here in LaPorte County. However, as a result of overall experiences in the industry, with the cost of repair and materials, as you all know, it's much more expensive when claims are paid. And although we haven't contributed a lot to that claims dilemma, the property is up as well a little bit, but it's modest, and I think it's been fair. Cyber liability, again, as you all know, in the last 5 to 6 years, we've switched carriers several times. In fact, we're better off now, again this year, albeit an increase than we have been in the past. We've moved from as high as $47,000 annually at one point with a renewal leaving Chubb to Travelers. As you know, we had an incident in the county that's starting to be in our rearview mirror at this point. When we look at losses and losses are rated on the underwriting side, we're looking at 5 years. So we're starting to approach that now. But by moving carriers, I think we've kept that reasonable and affordable for the county. So there was an increase in cyber. Cyber, in fact, is up this year 43.67%. We were at 16,998 last year. We're at 24,422. But we had a proposal 3 years ago for 47,000. So
that's an ever-changing market that I have to try to keep pace with and just send applications out and make sure that we're covered at the time that renewal comes around.
So I do have a question about the cyber insurance. When we had the incident, as you mentioned, we talked to a lot of technology specialists, cyber insurance specialists.
Sure.
And there was quite a bit of conversation about making sure that we were kept apprised in an ongoing fashion so that when new software, new technology, new advice would be present, we would get that. So are you connecting regularly with RIT to make sure that we have that?
And Darlene and her staff has done an outstanding job of hardening your infrastructure. She's taken all the precautions and all of the recommendations. After much toil and turmoil and hard work on her part and her team, she then circled back and listened to the post critique of the county's position post that incident and installed some more safeguards on your system. So I would applaud her for that. I still think there's always room for improvement. And in fact, I sent Darlene that proposal, which indicates a scorecard for the county, and it also offers and provides for a call-in consultation to talk about certain matters that we may be strong in or other matters that we may be weak in, like the dark web.
Right.
So those scorecards are there. Those resources are available along with the policies that I'm presenting today. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that from Obsidian. And I told you before, I hate to use the term, but it's the cowbell product that we now have. But I thought that proposal was extremely robust and comprehensive.
Madam President, if I could mention too, because this has been a team effort between Ms. Hale and Mr. Jones. This is not easy getting this kind of coverage after the incident that we had. And together they have worked at implementing every single recommendation that I recall having come down from the carrier. And I think it's been pretty impressive in terms of going out, getting a competitive quote, considering the incident we had and what they've done to protect us going forward. And it has really been a team effort between the two of them in terms of shopping this around to prospective carriers.
Well, I just want to be sure that we're keeping our eye on that recommendation ball, because the chaos that happened when the incident occurred, we all don't want to relive that. And so making sure that we're keeping that current, I mean, technology is changing and the world, cybersecurity is changing and always needs to be tweaked. So I encourage you to keep us posted on that so that Darlene has all the equipment that she needs and all the knowledge she needs to keep us safe.
I think you're spot on with your remarks because, as you know, you scrambled to institute MFA, which is being done now. And in that, and getting our renewal applications in, we had to attest to the affirmative on all those fronts. And we received this proposal, which is never a given, at 5 o'clock on Monday night. So I fully intend to circle back with Darlene and discuss the resources that are available there and what else can we do before next year to, not only get a quote and a proposal, but to keep the county safe from being in any kind of downtime.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask about. Thank you.
Thank you.
So are we all set then?
Yeah, I would say, unless you have some specific questions for me, then.
I would entertain a motion on considering the renewal of the county's property liability insurance policies.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Jones, as always.
Thank you.
As far as the increases, what isn't more? Remember 2 years ago when gas was $1.98, now it's $4.40?
Yeah.
That's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider opening bids for 12 replacement vehicles for the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Boyd?
Thank you. I know your office is in receipt of bids.
Yeah. First bid from LaPorte Chrysler Dodge Jeep for the 2022 Dodge Durango Pursuit vehicles. They include the V6 all-wheel drive, left LED spotlight, front and rear wiring harness along with standard equipment, road-ready emergency lighting and siren protection as an option. Vehicles are on the ground and incoming. Total price per $38,987 with a road-ready package of $6,447. Submitted by Matt Magnuson of LaPorte Chrysler Jeep. timely received. There is a second proposal. Okay. For a response perhaps from Lock Monday Ford of Knox. Postmarked April 23rd. Got here by Pony Express, only arrived May 2nd at 1:08. Lock Monday Ford of Knox. Lock Monday pleased to have been awarded bids to provide vehicles for the Sheriff's Department in past years. Bid solicitation first published 4/7/2022. Unfortunately, due to ongoing supply chain shortages, Ford has stopped taking orders for 2022 model year police vehicles effective March 25th. This was done to eliminate current backlog. As of this writing, Ford has not made pricing available for the 2023 model year, has not provided any information as to when 2023 pricing will be available. Due to these circumstances, Lock Monday Ford must respectfully decline to bid, but would be pleased to bid for 2023 model vehicles when pricing is available. With that, then, I would ask that the proposal of LaPorte Chrysler be shown as received and subject to department head recommendation, then approved by the board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the bids and present them to Sheriff Boyd for his review. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Sheriff. Next on the agenda, consider contract amendments for the grant-supported sign replacement project. Mr. Bishop.
Been out flagging traffic there?
Gotta support the department, I suppose. Mitch Bishop, County Planner. 2 years ago, roughly now, I came before this board and you support a grant agreement for sign replacement, warning and regulatory sign replacement in 8 different townships in LaPorte County. This January, the bids were open for that project and they came over 171,363 over estimate. So I needed additional 171,000. As of 2 weeks ago, I received that money. So this means that we can now do the replacement in 8 different townships in our county, roughly 5,000 signs. However, before you today is the PE contract and also the construction inspection contract with Lochner. There's going to be additional expense there because after the bids were open in January, I modified the project to only consist of 3 townships because I only had grant funding for the 3 townships. So with now receiving additional funds and doing the original 8 townships and the 5,000 signs, I also need money for the additional, because there's additional 2,500 signs that have to be inspected, and there's also additional PE work that has to be done, performed. I believe one contract is 5,300. That's the preliminary engineering contract, and the other one I believe is 9,000 for the additional signs for the inspection. A caveat to this is I need these signed and delivered by 1 o'clock today, and also attested by the auditor. So it's fiscal year 22 funds, and NDOT closed that out today.
I say we get rolling with that. We move to approve your requests and get this done today.
I'd second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve this request. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion is carried. Thank you. If I need to sign something, you'll let me know?
Yeah, they should be in your packet.
We're on deadline, huh?
Yeah.
There's no,
Literal deadline.
Let you leave before the sign.
Okay.
there's no online signatures, just physical.
Thank you.
Hard signatures needed. Next on the agenda, we have consider renewal of interlocal agreement with Potawatomi Park in LaPorte County for building code inspection services. Mr. Bijie, are you on? I beg your pardon?
Let me address it if I could. It's simply a renewal of the ongoing contract that we've got with Pot Park. They have used our building department for inspection, and we're recommending approval of this.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the renewal of the interlocal agreement with Potawatomi Park in LaPorte County. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Consider contract with Thomson Reuters for computer search services to aid the prosecutor office in their investigations. Prosecutor Lake.
Good morning.
Good morning.
May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
This is a contract, this is for my 4D office for child support. We use this for basically location services. So we have the money in our budget, and we're just asking for approval of the contract. Before, these contracts were usually signed by the elected prosecutor, but that's not what you're supposed to do. So that's why I'm here.
Motion to approve contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this contract for computer search services to aid the prosecutor's office in their investigation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you finish, I'm giving my employees a lunch next door. So if you want to come over, you're all invited.
Now
That's
you're
nice.
talking.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider ordinance to restrict use of Jake brakes on vehicles.
Yeah, Madam President, that was so we actually considered this ordinance a couple years ago, but I don't know why we never got it to the table. In the meantime, I have gotten calls, complaints from people. Most recently was on Highway 20, right by Rolling Prairie, where the speed limit dropped to 45. And it seemed the truckers, they're in a hurry, there's no doubt, to use their Jake brakes there. And there's the houses that are way off the road, and they said their windows even rattle. And this has been a problem in a couple other places. So when they called me about that, I called NDOT and said, what can we do? They said, you have to have a local ordinance, and then we can put up the signs where it's appropriate to tell the truckers not to use their Jake brakes. So in the interest of the people who have to suffer through this, I ask that we bring that ordinance back. It's been prepared and examined by our attorney, so I know it's good. So I would make a motion that we adopt that ordinance today. Do we need 2 readings?
We need 2 readings, correct?
Maybe do your motion on first reading, and at that point, we can then determine where the vote is of the board. You can then move to suspend if you want to pass on both readings or carry it over.
All right, since this is an ordinance, are there any members of the public who wish to speak to this at this time? Anyone on Zoom?
Sheriff, this would affect you probably, yeah. US 20, there's some other places where this would take effect. I know it's hard to enforce, but you're the guy enforcing it.
It would be, like you, I've received a number of calls about Jake brakes, not only in Rolling Prairie, but that seems to be the most commonly called in location, but certainly we get them on US 421 coming into the town of La Crosse, coming into the town of Wanata, but just outside the corporate limits. And we've talked to NDOT, and as you've indicated, we need to have a local ordinance. That said, we could enforce it if an ordinance existed. There's nothing under current Indiana code that would be applicable that we could use.
Well, it's a first start, first step.
Commissioner, as you indicate too, one of the benefits is being able to post signage.
Right.
And so communities like Madeireville, which are on, I think, 421 and some others, have found the same thing on some of the state roads, the importance of having these. So certainly our office is comfortable recommending this to you.
I'd recommend that we adopt it on first reading.
I remember when this came up, and I've actually received a number of calls as well, not just Rolling Prairie 421, but also 39, as well as a huge issue out there. I remember when this first came up vaguely, because I wasn't here, obviously, but there were some concerns about the legality of it versus some federal highway stuff. And has that been resolved since then? 'Cause I
Yeah,
remember there
we're
was some kind of
comfortable.
legal issue.
I know there was some debate about that. You're right, back in 2017. We're comfortable that some communities have adopted this and it has stuck. And so, but I do remember some of the issues that were raised. I think it was 5 years ago when this first came up. But this is similar to the draft ordinance that was prepared by Mr. Beege back then. And as Commissioner Mrozinski said, hopefully it's time to address it, and this draft hopefully does that for you.
Sure. I would like to support this on first reading and pass it on first reading, but hold over the second reading if that's appropriate to the next meeting, just in case there's any remonstrators or anything like that. If that's appropriate, I'd be perfectly fine with doing that.
We have a motion on first reading and a second on first reading. Let's take a vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye on first reading. Aye. So the ordinance, it sounds like you want the ordinance to be...
First reading, yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
So we will carry this over for second reading at our next meeting.
Thank you, Madam President.
Next on the agenda, we have commissioners' comments. Commissioner Haney?
Thank you, Madam President. It's been a pretty good couple of weeks. Been quite busy. We had our wellness days here at the county, as well as we had an open house for our new employee health clinic. And that is now open for our employees who have our county insurance to use. So I would encourage them to, if they would like, it's completely voluntary, but to utilize that, get some free services, everything from general practice to pediatrics and pretty much everywhere in between. You get your prescriptions written there and filled. They're generally speaking of no cost as well out there at that facility. So it'll save both the county and the employees a lot of money. And I have a feeling going into next year with all the increases we're seeing that everything we can do to reduce our costs not just helps benefit the employees in the short term by having no out-of-pocket expenses, but also will benefit the county as well and hopefully keeping our rates down, insurance rates down for next year. I'm really excited for this afternoon for the groundbreaking for our Rolling Prairie EMS base and highway base out there. That EMS base has been something that kind of languished out there for nearly 2 decades. I'm really glad that starting at the beginning of January last year, we were able to take the bull by the horns and finally get this base done. It's been an underserved area for quite some time up there in the Rolling Prairie area, and I'm hoping that with the passage of the public safety lit tax, now we're going to be able to not just fund an additional ambulance out there, but hopefully also get more ambulance crews as well. Because as I've mentioned in the past, since the beginning of last year, LaPorte County right now only has 7 ambulances on the road at any given time, which is in comparison to Porter County next door, even adjusted for population, they have nearly 3 times as many ambulances on the road per person as LaPorte County does. So I think that's crucial to be able to do that, and also not just increase response times and care, but also reduce the stress and strain on our EMS employees who are running very high call volumes. And it's not just getting them compensated properly, but it's also reducing some of that workload and stress. Because as a former EMT myself, when you run back to back to back calls consistently and having to fill in some of those overtime shifts, you get exhausted. And it's not just physically draining and physically taxing on the body, putting that extra work on there, but it's mentally taxing. You're in a lot of high stress situations. And I'm very hopeful that the council is going to fund some of those additional desires. Anyway, I've got a busy schedule this afternoon, so I won't keep it too long, but I would like to wrap up by saying, if it can be destroyed by the truth, it deserves to be destroyed by the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mrzinski.
Thank you. We got the results back from our LiDAR drone that flew over the Michigan City area by the drawbridge. We continued to work on that drawbridge project as we were given that assignment. And we have submitted our plan to Congressman Mervan for consideration for a planning grant. And I hope to have some big news on the drawbridge project here, probably by our next meeting. We met yesterday with some folks on the Fish Lake and Mill Creek Trail proposal. It's something that kind of was brought up a couple years ago, and we're kind of bringing that back up to see if we can get that completed now. We continue to have issues on code enforcement, like every week, and it's getting some traction, and we're making some progress here on that. I'm sure everybody will be glad with that. We continue to work on the Meadowview and No Octave subdivision, and here with those folks, and also from the folks on the Kingsbury Creek. I know we got a meeting coming up on that, and we're going to make sure that it's done right this time. The RDC, we continue to work on the 39 North project, on the I-94 421, the Loves project. That's moving right along, and it's growing as it moves along. Also, the I-94 and 35 project, which passed another hurdle at our last RDC meeting. We continue to deal with the issues from our latest tax situation from the auditor's office. Graves registration will be weekend after next, when they actually pass out all the flags to all the veterans organizations in the county to put on the veterans' graves throughout the county. There have been some issues with that, like everything else. VFWs, American Legions, continue to shrink. Guys are getting too old. The young guys aren't joining up. We've been offered help by Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to go out and help put the flags on the graves. I'm not sure exactly how many. I know just the one of the 9 cemeteries that the Rolling Prairie VFW does, there's almost 400 veterans buried there. It's a big thing. Continue to work with the Veterans Advisory Board from the county and also the Mayor's Veterans Committee, which I've been a member of for 22 years, I believe. Continue to work with the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water Board. They're working on the Saugony Lake project. That meeting will be not this week, next week. And I meet monthly with the Rolling Prairie Business Association, their Business and Community Association. They're very excited about the groundbreaking today at Rolling Prairie for the new ambulance base, something I've personally worked on for 15 years. I expect to see some of the folks from our association present. Continue to have some issues with the museum. Part of it was the roof. We have a leak around the chimney. And we have Larry Lewandowski's working on that with the contractor. We also have an issue where we need more volunteers and we need more part-time employees. Continue to have the bi-monthly meetings with LEAP, Legislative and Advocacy Committee. Do a lot of good work there. Continue to deal with the small animal shelter. Just had conversation about that yesterday. The Drainage Board, which our meeting will be next Tuesday. I deal with multiple vendors who call me about multiple issues. They tell me that they want to talk with me about things going on in the county. They trust me from the years that I've worked with them. All of these things go on 24. When I say 24/7, I mean Saturdays, I mean Sundays, I mean we had business dealings on Easter Sunday. And to point out, this is a part-time job, but this is what I do every day. Anywhere from 2 hours to 6 to 8 hours every day to do the job of commissioner and to do it right. And I do all that without having to put any of it on Facebook. I personal pride in that. So although it is a part-time job, it's a busy job if you do it right. And all the different people we deal with, it gives you a good feeling at the end of a long, hard day that you're doing the best you can do for what what you were elected to do. So, into my report, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm glad you shared some of the things that those are the typical days for a commissioner, and they do happen all weekend long and sometimes late at night.
And on Easter.
And on holidays, Christmas. Those are the joys of working for the community, and you have to get a lot of pleasure out of the fact that you can make good things happen, which is something I really want to call Commissioner Brzezinski and some of the folks who've been around in government and in political roles for the last 20 years, because today's groundbreaking didn't just happen. It happened through consistent pressure, insistence, and persistence. And I really applaud you, Commissioner Brzezinski, for making sure that the voices of the people in the eastern part of our county are represented and we're heard on this issue, because it's not just going to be a nice thing to have, it's a life-saving thing to have coverage that will take care of people, including the toll road and some of the other roadways that are nearby where accidents often happen. So thank you for that persistence, and for those others that have been on part of your team in the past to make sure that Rolling Prairie Base did not get forgotten or put on the long list, and you've been keeping it on the short list for a long time. So thank you for that. The groundbreaking will be today at 2, and that's going to be an exciting moment. Thank you for bringing up Mill Creek. We met with Mill Creek Trail Committee, and we've kind of pushed it back to engineering and to planning for them to help us determine the next steps. I serve on as LaPorte's representative on the NERC Planning Commission. I'm a commissioner, and they do have a trail fund. And so once we hear from our planner and our engineer on as to next steps. That may be a possibility. We need to find about $500,000 for that project. The Meadowview meeting will be on Thursday, May 12th at 6 o'clock here. Anyone from any of the neighborhoods affected or just citizens who would like to understand what's going on, feel free to attend, and it will also be available via Zoom. And I wanted to mention that we announced some really big news about broadband. Third time's the charm is the name of our pet name for the grant process that the next level grant. We applied 3 times, and now while you may think that sounds like we failed twice, we didn't fail twice. We got better, and we got more fine tuned, and we were able to really understand what the state rule makers were looking for in the grant. And so when we called it internally, we called it our third time's the charm grant, because we were sure that LaPorte County would be heard. And that's one of the reasons we went after that state designation, which we received in January, called the Broadband Ready Community. That was a flag to the state, to Indianapolis, that we were doing everything it required to be grant ready and shovel ready. Now, the interesting part is that the grant is for $6.8 million, and already we have an additional $2 million being put in the pot by Surf Broadband. So this money is going to be a kind of an igniter. I think that it will the companies will realize that they're getting great return on this work. I asked for patience out in the community. I've had some people complain because they're digging up. To put fiber in the ground, you have to do some digging, and then you have to come back and sod and seed and do those things. So be patient. I know Surf, Comcast have hotlines where you can call or send a text message or an email. If you need maintenance on your property, or you don't like the way something looks, there is a complaint process. And that is on Facebook. If you look up Surf Broadband, for example, they have the process on Facebook as to where you can file for your complaints or service needs. So the unintended consequences that we're getting more money put into the ground in LaPorte County. And so people are realizing that maybe their address has been overlooked, and so they're sending emails, which is great. If you send me an email, I send it to our staff, and they make sure that address is logged, and that we can supply those addresses to the providers so that they know that there are families in this neighborhood, in this subdivision, in this area, farms, families, small businesses that are needing better broadband, and are really anxious to see them bringing their equipment through the neighborhood. So please feel free to send those addresses and your questions, and we'll make sure that they get processed correctly. So as you know, I spend part of my comment time on the LaPorte County Works project. This is a business report that we do every commissioners meeting to really focus our county's thanks on the companies who have deep roots in our community, but also to make sure that young people or people who are trying to get better employment, a better job, pull themselves up, have opportunities for advancement and know what jobs we have. So today it would be interesting, and Mr. Seitz does a lot of the heavy lifting on this. We are focusing on the building trades. You saw there was a great showing today for the building trades being here on an issue, but the spotlight today for our LaPorte County Works is on the building trades. There is a program called the Indiana Plan. If you are looking to get into the building trades and you need to be skilled up, there's information online. If you type in the indianaplan.com, you can find all the information on how to join the unions as an apprentice. I have some great quotes here from the carpenters and from the for example, Scott Cooley, who's the business representative for the Council of Carpenters. LaPorte County and Northwest Indiana building trades offer a sustainable, lifelong opportunity with career advancement for those interested in hands-on learning experience. The building trades play a critical role in sustaining the economic growth of the region and has been a longtime supporter of community activities. being on the FMEC board, I will tell you how often we call on the unions to help us out on the fairgrounds, and they do so as volunteers. So often help us on lots of different projects. So from fixing roads and bridges to renovating historic buildings, from residential construction needs, supporting manufacturing plants and industrial expansions, the building trades provide critical services that affect everyone in our community on a daily basis. Tradesmen and tradeswomen such as iron workers, operating engineers, sheet metal workers, carpenters, electricians, construction laborers, roofers, millwrights, plumbers, painters, cement finishers, and bricklayers are examples of the building trades career that provides good living wages for families across LaPorte County and across the region. And if you think about our region, it was the trades that built Northwest Indiana. So with that, this will be posted on our website for anyone who knows someone who's interested in starting a career in the trades or wants to skill up and find out a little bit more about the building trades of Northwest Indiana. So with that, thank you. Sorry, one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing. I just well, I was approached by somebody here recently that says your fellow commissioner always has a quote for something at the end of the meeting. How come you quit doing that? And so they sent me a quote and they said, would you please read this? So I say, sure, I'll do that. Be careful what you hear about somebody. You might be hearing it from the problem. Thank you, Mrs. Robertson. With that, motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.